is the ZC Show,
the podcast that doesn't deserve an intro.
Here's your host, Zach Clark.
That's my first time hearing the intro. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Shout out to the producers at Odyssey. Sounds great. Welcome to the show. We're going to get right into it here. We're going to talk Pistons, Red Wings, Lions, Tigers. We're going to run the gamut. Super Bowl 60 is still on tap as well. That's coming up this Sunday. We're going to talk to Natalie Kerwin here in a few minutes from FanDuel Sports Network. She covers the Pistons night in, night out. And we are at the trade deadline. Well, we will be less than 24 hours from now. They've made a move. Will they make more? But before all of that, I want to welcome you to the Zach Clark Show, or as we're calling it, the ZC Show. Super creative title. I know it's kind of my thing. And for those of you that listen to Fourth Down in the Motor City, you know what to expect, kind of, right? We talked Lions all season long. It was a ton of fun. And when the season ended, I thought, well, we could keep going and just talk Lions. And that would have been fine. I think the real benefit, though, if you're going to do that, is to have a beat writer with you, somebody that covers the team, that's with the team, that is almost embedded in the team, right? Those are the kinds of things, those are the kinds of people that you need to have. So I said, okay, what are we going to do? And I said, maybe we'll do nothing. No, we're doing this. Think of this really as sports talk radio format wise. Now, before any of you, throw your listening device out the window, I don't mean like the hot take machine that can be sports talk radio. What I mean is it's going to be Detroit sports, opinion, bullshit, facts, and we'll have guests too. So again, sports radio-ish. And you think to yourself, well, I don't know, Zach, this is a podcast. Yeah, I know, but I came from the sports talk radio world. I used to do this for 3 hours every day. Oh, man, those were the days. We'll do it same time every week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. We're going to do it live on Twitch. We're going to do it live on YouTube. Excuse me. And I was going to do it live on Instagram, but the problem is vertical, horizontal. The three things don't all match to me. I know that doesn't. Anyway. So before we talk Pistons, why don't we have Natalie Kerwin join us? And I caught up with her earlier. I felt badly. I texted her yesterday and I was like, hey, we're kicking the show off. Can you join me? And she didn't respond. And I'm like, all right, as soon as I texted her that, the trade happens. Right. And I'm like, oh, sorry, ma'am. Anyway, long story short, we caught up today. In fact, she was at LCA in the practice room or in the near the practice rooms when we spoke. Take a listen. During basketball season, nobody works harder in Detroit than Natalie Kerwin. Natalie, how are you?
Hey, we are good. How are you, Zach?
I'm doing really well, and you're in Detroit at the facility, right?
Yes, we are in the practice facility. I found a room to be able to hop on with you, so this is awesome.
What was it like today at practice? The Pistons had a huge win last night. They've taken two big leads against Denver, let them both slip away, and then won both of those games. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. And then you said Kevin Huerter was there, but he didn't speak today. So, what was the mood at shoot-around today?
Vibes were good, and JB Bickerstaff said today's practice was supposed to be more of a mental get yourself right kind of day, which he prioritizes that a lot with this group, and it's a big part of his coaching philosophy where he basically whatever guys need to get done, whether it's prioritizing working with the medical staff or something with their shooting, whatever it is, like guys have the time today to work on certain things. So he said they had a special guest come in and speak with the group as well. I think just to talk about mental health and that's just a big part of, helping the team come together and keep that connectedness going. And as you mentioned, Kevin Huerter was in the building today. We didn't get a chance to speak with him just because because, before the trade can officially be completed, guys have to go through physicals and whatnot. But he was present at practice, so that was a good sign to see.
So I mean,
And vibes were great. So vibes were really good. Yep.
as long as the vibes stay high, we're in good shape. And
Yeah.
Natalie, the NBA trade deadline is on Thursday, but the Pistons got busy yesterday. What's your take on the Jaden Ivey trade? It's tough to see him go, but certainly the injury runway had kind of run out for him, it seems.
Yeah, that's the hardest part about being in this business, right? Is the trade deadline. It really is. Whether you're a player or you're on the media side of things, you cover these guys and you're around these guys, and it's not easy to see people be let go, no matter what the situation was with whoever it is. And so for a guy like JI, it's been hard because the injury to his leg last year had him out for 11 months before coming back in, October. I mean, before then, let's see, it had him out for 9 or 10 months. Then he hurt his knee and had to have arthroscopic procedure on his knee right when the season started. So then he had yet another injury. And so he really didn't even come back until November. And so he hadn't played basketball for so long. And it was just hard because the team, right, had to start the season without him in mind and figure out other ways to get things going without him. And I know it's hard when you try and reintegrate yourself back into it. So it was sad, right? Because it's like he was a draft pick, really nice guy in the locker room, enjoyable to talk to. This team loved him. Asar Thompson said yesterday in his post-game press conference, "That's my guy. Like, I wish him the best. I love him. He was my locker room buddy. Like, they were next to each other." So, for me, I wish him the best as well. I hope he thrives. I don't wish ill will on anybody. So, I hope he finds his footing in Chicago and is successful there. Like, I never want anyone to do poorly anywhere they go. So hopefully for both sides it works out.
Yeah, I know that your friend of mine, George Blaha, was upset last night too, talking about how sometimes the trades become personal because he's close with the grandparents of Jaden. So I mean, it was like watching a family friend go away.
Yes, to say the least. George is very close with JI's family. And so before we got to the arena yesterday, I'm like, oh man, I don't even know how to approach George because I know this one it's close to home for him, So it is really the first part of this business because you just hate to see these guys go elsewhere. But the beautiful part is you get to see these guys a few times a year. I guess we already saw the Bulls 3 times already, so we see them once more. So we will be able to see him again, but I know it is the hardest thing. But I guess the reunions when you do see them are that much more sweeter once it comes back around. So yeah, George was not the happiest yesterday, but it all comes back around somehow. It'll be okay.
Well, and like you said, hopefully for JI, it's a new start for him, and he can find footing and success there. And there's still time left, Natalie. The league-wide whispers are the Pistons likely won't do much, but absorbing Saric plus Herter and then the pick swap had me wondering, like, they could be done there, but also it's like a choose your own adventure book. It could go either way from here. They could stop or they could package some of those guys and move them again. I just don't know what to expect in the next 24 hours or so.
I don't either. I guess expect the unexpected a little bit. I feel like there's always big surprises every year at the deadline. And I'm not just saying with the Pistons, I'm saying in general. Like yesterday, mid-game, seeing the Harden trade, I'm like, what? Harden to Cleveland? And then Darius Garland to the Clippers? What are we doing? And then even today, AD to the Wizards? What? Like, what else is going to happen before tomorrow? It's just anything can happen. So, what I will say is that Trajan Langdon is incredible at what he does. I mean, last year we saw the move to get Dennis Schroeder help this team get to the playoffs, and it was the right move and the right guy to bring in, and it was amazing. And the move that he made now with JI and Kevin Herter and Dario Saric, like you hope that it's the same sort of payoff that we saw last year. So who knows what could happen? I'm not going to speculate, but who knows? There could be something else made, but you got to put the trust in Trajan to make those decisions. And he's, shown us so far that I mean, he's the best guy to be in that spot because he knows what he's doing and he's very articulate with, the moves that he does make.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you're right. There's no more exciting roller coaster than that is the NBA trade deadline,
Oh
Natalie.
yeah.
I mean, I was, you mentioned being in the arena midway last night and hearing the James Harden news. What was it like? I was watching this on TV too, being in the arena when you heard the Jalen Duren announcement. I mean, that looked like so much fun, and watching his face. I mean, I know he didn't want to smile, but he did, and just watching that whole thing unfold was incredible.
That was amazing. JD is such a serious guy. I mean, he's a goofball. I'll say that. He's a goofball with the rest of the boys. But when it comes to post-game interviews with me or talking to the rest of the media, he tries to be Mr. Tough Guy, because he is out there. But I'm like, he's got to crack a smile with me. So when the announcement came mid-game and we got the live reaction, that was priceless. And seeing him look up at the video board and give us that, quick smile. And then he quickly looks back down. You can tell he's like, all right, I got to lock back in. That was great. And then in the post-game press conference, I'm like, I got to ask him here to start us off. And he was like a little kid. Did you see that clip too?
Yes.
Where I'm like, hey, that smile. And he was like, how could you not? And he looks down and he's like, yep. I don't know what else to say. So that was awesome. Those are the moments that people remember, fans remember, and it just goes to show how much this means to him because he's been working so hard. I mean, talk about a player that's made a significant jump this year. You could point out a lot of different guys, but him specifically, man, oh man, like on the offensive side of the ball, like he's averaging 6 more points than he was last year. It's just crazy. He's seeing the floor better. He's adding more things to his game. He's got a little MIDI sometimes that he brings out. Like, I just feel like he's just finding more ways to be a more well-rounded player, which you have to be in this league. And I feel like he's just embodying that. And he's not just your defensive anchor anymore. He's trying to blossom into someone new. And like he came into this league with a grown man body, as Draymond Green said the other day, but now he knows how to use it. And it's paying off. And now he's going to be in the dunk contest too. Like,
Which is wild. A starter and contender in the dunk contest. I can't remember the last time so it's been 10 years at least, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know I'm just curious what he's gonna show us at
Next
the dunk
time
contest.
you see him, you got to ask a little bit. Give just a little bit, little insight, because it's all about being creative these days. You can't just throw it down, right? Is there going to be a car? Is there going to be some kind of wild thing he'll jump over, right? It's got to be something.
He did give me a little insight last night. So in the locker room, we started to ask him. We said, come on, you got to give us a little clue what you're thinking. He's like, I don't know. I got some time to think. Maybe I'll do a little 2016 Aaron Gordon jump over the mascot sort of deal. And I said, okay. I said, that was a good dunk contest between him and Zach LaVine that year. That was electric. So I don't know. That could bring back some good vibes. But I said, I don't know. You could be more creative. I could see something else. But could bring Hooper out there.
Yes. And I'll tell you what, that was the last electric dunk contest. And I still, as an Arizona Wildcat myself, say that Aaron Gordon was absolutely robbed. And I will die on that hill 10 years later. Anyway, I'll take a deep breath there.
I digress.
But anyway, Natalie, the grind never stops for you. The Pistons have a big one on Friday. Everybody hates the Knicks. It's become such a fun rivalry there in town. Every time they play, you get fireworks. I mean, what are you expecting on Friday?
Same thing.
Yes.
Same thing. I mean, it's on it's on Prime. I was going to say on Prime Television. It's literally on Amazon Prime. So unfortunately it's not on our network on FanDuel, but I will still be there because I don't like to miss any time we play the Knicks. So all of our matchups this year actually have been on national TV, which they should. I mean, obviously the playoff series against them last year was electric, and the Pistons have that revenge factor every time we see them now. And gosh, last time they were here not too long ago, was it beginning of January? I think.
Yes.
I think I'm right on this. I don't know. The days all run together now, so don't mind me not knowing dates. But when they were here, we beat them by a pretty significant margin, if I remember right. So it's like,
remember that, certainly.
Listen, so I mean, but they do remember that. So you're gonna have two different teams here that both remember, what it was like during the playoffs, what happened last go around a month ago. So I expect it to be nothing but, Friday night LCA. You better be there, Pistons fans. Come on now.
Cannot wait. Among
Yeah.
many other things, you can catch Natalie in the NBA Eastern Conference leading Detroit Pistons on FanDuel Sports. Natalie, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me, Zach. I appreciate it. I'll be back if you want me
Yes,
on.
absolutely. I insist. Helps if you turn your mic on. I'm looking over like, why can't I? It was great, Evan, Natalie. She was absolutely fantastic. And, she does. It's amazing. I turn the TV on every night for the Pistons and bam, there she is. No days off. Even today on a day off. And, we'll talk more Pistons basketball.
Detroit basketball.
We mentioned Jaden Ivey, and, I hate to call him a failed experiment. I think sometimes life just gets in the way. And what got in the way this time, injuries, right? But now Jaden Ivey is off to Chicago. And look, I'm with Natalie. I hope that he finds a better footing, that he finds a way to reestablish himself, or I should say even establish himself. He never really even got a chance, right? I mean, right out of the gate, the injuries. And then he comes back, injured again. In the deal, Detroit gets Herter and Saric. Grant Herter and Dario Saric, and a pick swap with Minnesota. It was a 3-team deal. To me, that sounds like a trade to make another trade. What are you going to do with that? Saric played 5 games this year. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he didn't play for the Pistons at all. Right? I mean, you heard Natalie. Was Herter at practice today? Yes. Was Saric? No. It's a bummer J.I. didn't work out. And I think there's no way Saric plays in Detroit. And so I think there is another move here. And my thing is, how aggressive do you want the Pistons to be? I've seen a lot of these things where, and look, for the most part, those trade proposals you see on, ESPN or whatever, like they're almost always trash. You see them on Facebook, they're usually even worse. But I have noticed Pistons fans, most of them want to move, right? You want to make a splash. It's exciting. It's fun. But then you look at the trade scenarios and they say, well, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up anybody. Well, you can't have Ron Holland. No, you can't have Asar Thompson. Okay. Well, then what do you want? What can you get if you won't give up something? I hoped that Jaden Ivey would have been a bigger trade piece, but it didn't work. Lloyd Markkinen's out there. I'm an obnoxious Arizona Wildcats alum. You're going to learn that if you haven't already. Michael Porter Jr., Domantas Sabonis. I mean, look, Lauri Markkanen is out. Utah added Jaren Jackson, so Utah is not looking to sell at all. They're building. And Sacramento has said multiple times they want defense. If we're going to trade Domantas, we want defense in return. So unless you're willing to part with Thompson or Holland, I think you can forget about it. The last two, but 2 great defenders. And Detroit's not going to do that, and they shouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it. But what about Michael Porter Jr.? He's available. The Nets have set some standards. I think, and look, here's my thing. Unless you're going to cut Dennis Jenkins, you've got to make room here anyway. The Pistons have 1 player too many. Or in 2 or 3 days, Dennis Jenkins goes back to the G League. That's not happening. So something else still has to happen. So what if, to get a Michael Porter Jr., you give up Harris and LeVert? Right? That matches contract, and give him a pick. Shoot, they can have 2 first-round draft picks for Michael Porter Jr. You lose Harris, you lose LeVert. You get Michael Porter Jr., you donk off 2 picks. The NBA draft, I mean, it's all drafts are important, but now that the Pistons have gotten better, the draft is not less critical, but you have fewer options because you're going to slide further back. I mean, the hope is they make the playoffs, make a run. That drops you back in the draft order, right? So the Pistons, to me, they do need to do more. They are the best team in the East. They are this far away record-wise from being the best team in the NBA, but can they sustain that for the rest of the season? And could they be better? To me, that's the bottom line. Could Detroit be better? And if the answer is yes, then go get better. Go get better. We've talked about it before on the previous program. There is something about the GMs in this town where aggression is not favored. Even with the Detroit Lions, who play an aggressive style of football, management-wise, not so much. I shouldn't connect all the GMs, but there seems to be a similar behavior pattern. Let's talk Red Wings. Not a very nervous guy, but I will say the Red Wings make me nervous. They do. If you look at early February in 2025, this is 2026. If you look at early February of 2025 and of 2024, you probably felt pretty good as a Red Wings fan, right? But how did you feel when the playoffs started? Probably pretty sad because they didn't make it. It's been 9 years in a row now. It will be 10 if they can't seal the deal. And it should already be over in either one of the last two seasons, but especially in 24. They were on fire. Larkin gets hurt. They lose 7 straight. They missed the playoffs. I remember it was with the goalie situation. One team had to pull their goalie, and they were showing the game side by side. It wasn't Washington that pulled their goalie. I can't remember who they were playing. But that game was so dramatic, and the chips just didn't fall the Red Wings' way. And you look back, it's because, they had that 7-game losing streak. And when you lose the captain, things get difficult. And, in late 24, now we're a season ahead, Todd McClellan takes over. The Red Wings surge into the beginning of 2025. They fall apart. The power play vanishes. There's a 6-game losing skid in there. And they end up, I think, 5 points worse than they were the previous season. But in February, they were in position in both seasons to make the playoffs. Certainly in 24, but they worked their way up there in 25 as well. And here they are in 2026, basically like they were in 2024. But things are different. Now, this also comes back to the Iser plan and what do the Red Wings do in the next week or so here. The trade deadline's coming up in the NHL as well. But you know what the difference is? It's obvious, right? When I was a kid, the Red Wings became a thing. They were, when I was a little kid, they were not very good at all. And then all of a sudden, they couldn't lose for 2 decades. And obviously, they had good players everywhere. And the Red Wings defense, the amount of all-time great defenders the Red Wings have had is insane. So it always helps the goalie to have that kind of player in front of you. But think about it. Why did the Wings win cups in the 90s and 2000s? There was a consistency with Mike Vernon, Chris Osgood, and even Dominic Hasek. Mr. Play goalie from your back. Butterfly! And the Red Wings have really struggled in the last decade to find that goaltending. But John Gibson has been a revelation. And surely he can bridge the gap. They have him this year and next year, and longer if they want, but at least contractually now for the next 2 seasons. And the Red Wings have big-time goalie prospects, right? Kosa, Augustine. And you think certainly that Gibson can bridge the gap until one of those guys is ready. Goalie consistency has been elusive in the last almost decade. I'm recording this at, 7:30 on Wednesday evening, and the Red Wings play at 9. It's the last game before the All-Star break. It's like the Super All-Star break, the Olympic break. 3 weeks. And then things are going to go nuts in March. Because of the Winter Olympic break, the March schedule gets just wild. And we're going to find out what the Wings really are made of. And part of that's going to include what they do at the deadline. But certainly a win against Utah here would be nice, coming off that win over the Avalanche 2-0 the other night. Build momentum. And, I was thinking like the feeling in the building at LCA that's never had a playoff game for the Red Wings when 91 went to the rafters, man, it was like a drug. Like I need more of that. And you know how you get it? There's only one way, my friends. There's only one way to get that. And it starts with a playoff game at LCA. It starts there. Because all of this glory that I experienced as a child wasn't because they made the playoffs once. It was because they made the playoffs 22 times in a row and won the Stanley Cup 4 times. So you got to start somewhere. But to get back to where the Red Wings were, it'll take a decade. But again, well, they're moving in the right direction. Can they be that all-time powerhouse? No, probably not. The lack of salary cap was a dream. Thank you, Mr. Ilitch. Speaking of Mr. Ilitch, Mr. he was just the best, but now Chris is in charge.
You stupid bitch.
Oh, Zach, that wasn't very nice.
Just kidding.
Fine. The Tarek Skubal arbitration is happening in his home state in Arizona. He's from Kingman on the way to Vegas if you're coming from the Phoenix or Tucson area. Anyway, arbitration hearing in Phoenix today. As I'm recording this, no reporting from out of that meeting yet. And like with Tarek Skubal, it's one thing. I get it. They don't want to sign him for whatever reason. There's no salary cap. The Ilitches are billionaires, and they've got some good players. They've got the best pitcher in baseball last 2 years. Maybe this year coming too. Who knows? So, okay, fine. You don't want to sign him. Do I think that's dumb? Yes. But you know what's even stupider? Is to insult him going into the season. They go into the hearing and they have to argue against how good Tarek Skubal is. Well, we offered him $19 million. That's all he was worth to us. As he has 2 Cy Young awards hanging from his neck. The $13 million gap is the biggest in history. And both numbers, the Lions, I keep calling the Lions, it's been too much football. We need to transition ourselves here. The Tigers offered $19 million, and the rebuttal from Skubal and Boris was $32 million. And both of those numbers are rooted in history. The biggest payout for a pitcher was David Price at $19.75 million. So the Red Wing, or so the Tigers somehow say, well, you know what? We'll offer less than that. I mean, that's an insult. You got to at least come with 20, at least. But last year, Juan Soto, not a pitcher, got $31 million. And so Boris is going to say, look, man, you don't think that Tarek Skubal is as important to his team as Juan Soto is to his? How do you say no? They probably could ask for 35. Will he get 32? I don't know. But there is no way the Tigers come out on this one on top because they already look stupid. I mean, it's got to be what? 25 million at least? I'll tell you something. You know what? I hope that he wins that arbitration hearing. I do. It's not my money. I don't want Tarek Skubal to get slighted. Why would I want that? I hope Tarek Skubal wins his arbitration hearing. I was listening to the radio today, and somebody called into the Valenti show and said, if they have to pay him this year, maybe they'll just pay him for the long haul. I don't think that's true, but I want a guy to go out there feeling confident in his work and the team around him and the team behind him. And right now, again, they went into a room today and the Tigers argued against his skill. That's insane. Looking like an asshole to sign Framber Valdez or Lucas Giolito seems ridiculous. But what do I know? Seriously, what do I know? But it just seems that the Tigers don't like Tarek Skubal. And I think what it really is, you know who they don't like? It's Scott Boras. Guess who else doesn't like Scott Boras? Me. Everybody who's not Scott Boras' client hates Scott Boras. But this is not the time to take the stand. You don't have the backing. The ball is not in your court, to mix my sports metaphors. By the time you hear this, we could have some more news on it. But regardless, the Tigers have gone in and said, you know what? Screw you, Tarek. We don't value you the way that you value you. In fact, it's not even close. We value you almost to the level of insult. Let's talk Detroit Lions here for a second, even though I've mentioned their name like 40 times already. It's Super Bowl week. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a second. But at Radio Row, which is, you know, the big hullabaloo of media circus that happens without players, obviously, with everybody else, that happens the week leading up to the Super Bowl. And Dave Burkett, who is an absolute legend here in Detroit, he spoke to Dr. David Chow. And David Chow spent a bajillion years as a NFL team physician, and now he is, you know, like a freelance expert. You see him on Twitter, or he'll give his take on Fox or ESPN or whatever, right? And so Dave, whom I love, asked Dr. Chow, hey, you know, what about Kirby Joseph? And we've talked about Kirby, and we know that things are on rocky ground, but I mean, I heard this and I thought, oh my God.
Articular cartilage is the holy grail. If you could reproduce or regrow articular cartilage, you win the Nobel Prize. It's very dicey, and so I wish him the best, but this is not good news for a young player, not good news for the Detroit Lions. Look, if you can get some time out of him over the next year or two, that would be a victory. To say that he's going to fulfill this contract and get another one is a Hail Mary.
I wish him the best. What? We had hospice? That didn't sound good at all. And we knew that it wasn't like, you know, this is obviously a not great situation, but I had held out some kind of hope that maybe this won't be an absolute disaster. And it's like, it makes me wonder. I don't want to say this because the way the Lions built themselves up was so correct with the draft, with you know, at the beginning with guys that maybe people didn't believe in as much, like a Jared Goff. It felt like they built this team the right way, and then it really paid off. They won 15 games, and then losing the first round of the playoffs. Injuries the last 2 years have been really brutal. But now it's like, was that it? Are the Lions going to be okay going forward? But that like magical moment was just that, just a moment. I don't think so, but it feels that way at the moment. We don't know when Brian Branch will be back. Doubtful to start the 2026 season. And maybe doesn't hit stride until next year at all. I mean, by next year, I mean 2027. I mean, going into this season, the 2025 season, you would have had to argue hard against the Detroit Lions not having the best secondary in the game. Kirby Joseph had an all-pro season. Branch couldn't stop intercepting people. The way they were able to play man. But the problem is now they don't know what to expect really from their safeties, and the secondary has been decimated too in multiple ways, like with Rakestraw. Like year 3 for him, who knows? The urgent need appeared to be, and I think still is, the offensive line. We saw the Lions' firepower on offense drop dramatically. It's because they couldn't run the football because their offensive line wasn't as good. Sure. There's hope there, but the problem now is, layered on top of that, you have to rebuild your secondary at the same time. How do you do that? The Lions have already spent a ton of money. I mean, it starts with letting somebody like Alex Anzalone go, in free agency, and maybe even a guy like Al-Qadim Muhammad too. His price tag is going to go up. I just don't think the Lions are going to want to pay it, especially when their needs have suddenly shifted dramatically. Well, I shouldn't say suddenly. This has been coming. I should be careful here. The news today doesn't change anything. It's just not what you want to hear if you're a Lions fan from a doctor that spent 2 decades doing this kind of work. So can the Lions, through free agency, trades, and the draft, in 6 months, can they shore up their secondary and their offensive line? They're going to have to. They'll get the benefit of an easier schedule. I mean, it's only, 3 or 4 games against the bottom dwellers of other divisions, but still, the schedule won't be nearly as difficult as it was this past year. I don't know. It's frustrating. Again, I'm not here to say the Lions are going to blow it or everything was a mirage. It just, it's one of those things where it's like you finally get this thing, you're like, oh, man. Hell yeah, dude, this is awesome. And then they're like, no, we're going to have to take that back from you now. Sorry. Frustrating. And, let's talk about Super Bowl 60, Seahawks, Patriots. To tie the Lions into this, it's been the last couple of years, 3 now, because obviously when they lost to the Niners, I mean, that was a devastating Super Bowl. And then I was bitter last year too, because they lose in the first round after winning 15 games. And this year, they missed the playoffs. So the last 3 seasons, I get to the Super Bowl and I'm nonplussed, for lack of a better term. It's made the playoffs less fun for me. And I suppose that's a good thing. I used to enjoy the playoffs because I knew the Lions were going to make it. So there was no disappointment come, January. Now, I enjoyed the ride. Now I'm just bitter. What can I say? So, rooting interests. I've got a few of them. My first one is I hate blowouts. If I'm going to watch a game with 2 teams that do nothing for me, but Zach, what about the commercials? I don't care about the commercials. I mean, are they funny? Yes, but I'm not going to make that joke that I'm just here for the commercials. No, I'm not. I'm here to drink and watch this football game. And if I happen to catch the commercials, great. Anyway, I don't want a blowout like Super Bowl 48. Seattle was in that one as well. They beat Denver 43-8. Remember, it was the first play of the game. Denver has the ball, snapped over Peyton Manning's head, and they just never recovered. And of course, these 2 teams have played before, right? Remember the last time?
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Pete Carroll is still an absolute moron. What a moron. I mean, that's got to be the smartest guy in the room move ever. Like the worst one. Just Marshawn Lynch. Absolute dominance. So for me, no blowouts. And I'd like to hit a square or 2. It's been a few years. In fact, it's been more than a few years. And yeah, there's lots to watch, right? Drake May against the Legion of Boom 2.0. I know people hate that, but they harken back to a day when Seattle's defense was just so, Bam Bam, Sherman, others. And then, of course, guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's been just, he has hit the upper echelon, the top echelon of wide receivers in the National Football League. And, Sam Darnold, you can say what you want about the Vikings GM getting fired because he took paternity leave. Whatever. Maybe that is what happened. But to me, you know why he got fired? Because Sam Darnold's playing in the Super Bowl. That's why. He was their quarterback. They won 14 games. We're moving on. Okay. But Mike Vrabel, defensive genius. So this is a nice matchup. I just, I don't care. A prediction? I don't know, 35-31 Patriots. That's probably too much. But also I'd win the final score square. So that's what I'm saying. 35-31 Patriots, Papa needs a new pair of shoes. All right, y'all. It has been an absolute blast doing this with y'all, and we're going to keep it up. Every Wednesday, 7 o'clock, YouTube, Twitch. And then on Thursday, you can catch the show on all of your favorite audio platforms. Subscribe to the ZC Show. Give us some love. We'll be back. We'll do it all over again next week. Peace.